Mayuri, welcome back. Welcome back to the podcast. I wonder if this meeting is recorded is going to be on the podcast now. Welcome.
Thank you.
This is my Perfectly Imperfect podcast where we always start before we're ready. Mayuri, am I doing it right?
Yeah, Mayuri or Mayuri. You can say either.
Okay. I'm probably gonna flip-flop between the two.
Cool.
You are my first repeat podcast guest who has had a name change and a pronoun change, and I'm very excited that it's you, my femme queen, friend, and sibling, Mayuri.
Yay. Yes. Thank
Yay.
you. I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for asking me to come on again.
Yay. I would love to hear, I always like to do business in the front. So please tell us about your psychic services and how folks can interact with you as Psychic Mayuri.
Yeah. So my my website is psychicmayuri.com, and when you go there, you can join my mailing list, which is really like the best way to keep in touch with me, or like through email or text message. I'm not on social media, but I send out really cute newsletters, so there you go.
Your newsletters are extremely cute. They're rare, like you don't get them that often, and they're always like chock full of exactly how to interact with you. And I just can't recommend enough. If people are out there looking for a great psychic, you have always come through for me in so many ways. I'm so just when we popped on this call, I was just like, you are one of the only people I have in my life who has like witnessed so many iterations of who I've been and how I'm becoming. And I just love it and value you so much. And your advice has been so helpful in finding peace for me, because that's really what I get from psychic working with psychics. It's peace. It's like a form of spiritual therapy, I think.
That makes me so happy. Like I can say the same with you. Like you've given so much psychic guidance to me, and like your Reiki has been so transformative for me. Like even today before this call, sending me Reiki, like you're an amazing healer, Bevin. So thank you. I received that.
Thank you. I received that too. Tell me about the name change. I mean, I already know, but tell everybody about the name change.
Yeah, so I had like a shamanic journey. I guess it was about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, where I received like my original name that my birth family gave me at my naming ceremony. And so it came through as Mayuri and came through with the spelling and everything. And I was kind of shocked that it came through. And I told a couple people, and they started like calling me Mayuri like off and on, and I really wasn't ready to do the change. Like it just felt really scary for me to let everyone know that I was going to change my name, even though in queer community people change their names literally every day, and I know so many people have changed their name. Like I had a lot of trouble like being able to take up space around it. So it's been like a really slow process for me since December, where like I've slowly been telling people about my name change. Like I told you, before I changed my business name, and you actually recommended like you should change your business name. You should do psychicmayuri.com. And literally like you totally inspired me, Bevin, like as always. And I sat with it for a bit and I was like, I should rebrand and I should do psychicmayuri.com. And like it all came together, and you were such an integral part of that. Like, yeah, you're incredible.
You know what is so affirming about that is that's like a gift of mine is like being able to tap into people's highest selves and like kind of see like brand stuff, social media content, stuff like that like is really vexing for a lot of people. It's very natural for me. It just comes right through. And it's so affirming actually for you to say that like I helped with that, because like, you know, you can say you're psychic and you can like recognize your gifts, but there is like a level of imposter syndrome until you really like level up into the comfort of owning the gifts that we have that are maybe out of like mainstream success protocols.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so I'm so grateful that anything I can say is of value and helpful to you. And also really like branding, so vexing, but it's really about how you introduce yourself to people. And
Yes.
it's not, and it really like, I mean, we were just talking about this before the podcast, but like we're not responsible for other people's perception of us. But I think we can be mindful of like how a new person might receive us and like how to communicate the
Mhm.
most important parts of us. Like, because if you want to work with clients as a psychic, you just throw that in the top, you know what I mean? And like
Yeah.
that, it really helps.
Mhm.
Plus, there probably isn't another Psychic Mayuri out there.
Yeah, there isn't. That's true. Yeah, there isn't. So I'm really grateful that my name is like unique, as is your name. So yeah, like having a unique name is a great thing.
I did not think that when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I was dying literally to be a Jenny.
That's amazing. I love that. Because your name is so magical and beautiful and like so embodies who you are, like top to down, like up and down. Yeah.
Thank you.
That's so cute though.
Isn't it? So what's it been like living for 6 months, like changing your name, owning your name, and also not having a very common name anymore?
Yeah, it's been, oh my gosh, it's been such a shift for me. I feel like it's really shifted like my gender and my relationship with like my sexuality. Um it's so funny, my son said the other day, "You're becoming a lot more butch." And I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, "I don't know, I feel like I feel that from you." Like I shaved the side of my head and like, yeah, like have been stepping more into feeling into, being two spirit, which is how I identify. And I think like changing my name has brought more alignment with that. And like really being able to step more into my masculinity. And I think just feeling more myself, like I just feel so much more in alignment with who I am, and like really shedding the name that my abusers and my perpetrators gave me is so powerful. I think like for any survivor who has had like deep familial trauma, like being able to change your name is something really magical.
It really is. There's something about a reclamation of yourself and your identity that comes with naming. And also, like,
Yes.
it's even like, I think this about like breakups and tattoos. Like, there's a way of reclaiming your body after intimacy with someone who's no longer in your life. And like,
Mm.
there's like this way of just like being like, okay, well, I'm going to just come back into control of my body and myself and take this back. Um,
Yes.
I love that. Tell me more about this, the masculine emergence, because you are someone I've known actually through Femme community, and like have always been very like performatively femme in a way that was in, I think, the best ways, like for you and for fun and for self-expression. And so I'm curious, like how that identity is it still there? Is it like kind of lifted away? Are you like more in balance now, masculine and femininity? Like what's coming up for you around that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I still deeply identify as femme, like because it just, that label really resonates with me. But I think yeah, I think kind of like stepping into maybe like my boldness and my fierceness a little bit more. And I feel like it's helped me really own my boundaries, and be kind of more unapologetic about saying what I feel and like speaking my mind. Um, yeah, and then I just think like I think like in my relationships, feeling more yeah, feeling more like in my masculinity in my relationships, which feels important. Like one of my girlfriends has just been like, "Oh my gosh, like you've like changed so much since you changed your name." And she was really one of the people deeply encouraging me to change my name. And um I think like she's really like witnessed that shift. And I think it's because I think it's also subtle and nuanced, right? And so I think the people who are closest to me have seen it a lot more, you know, like my girlfriends and my son.
Totally.
Yeah.
I also think there's something too about gender as an experience, and not even necessary. I mean, of course it's identity. And I think some piece I've created around identity politics, right? Having been branded queer fat femme for so very long, I kind of outgrew it because there was just more to me that like kind of fit in those same like kind of controversial boxes. And I always wanted to use that platform as a way to just show how you can just be yourself and find peace in the world, even being yourself in a way. I was just so deeply afraid of being a queer fat femme for so long that when I embraced it, it was liberating, and it was a healing, it was like a healing chapter. But now I'm just like really identifying as me, Bevin, like whatever that experience is. And like, and I really love gender as an experience with someone else, that especially in intimacy and intimate relationships, like I think none of the people who I have ever dated in any meaningful way are the same gender or sexuality since I left them. And it wasn't like I embodied that change, but I think
So interesting.
right? I think there's a way in which like, I mean, I was raised by queers and I was taught by queer femmes how to be like this, but like, it's really about holding space for whoever and the experience of what is happening, and like being willing to open up to all this different sex and gender experience and that kind of thing. And like, I just, almost everybody has like changed a pronoun, or like, I know, even if we don't talk, I know like, you know, one of my exes, like who was very like kind of internally homophobic, was then like, you know, having butt sex after we broke up. So like, you know what I mean? Like, and I only know because like they were on, because I have a lot of bear friends. I'll say that. People were telling me about the internet things they were seeing. So
I love that. That's amazing. I love like being part of the queer community, and that like we're allowed to change, and that's like accepted, because I feel like in other communities it's not always accepted.
Yeah, and of course there's some queers who try to rain on that party, but like I think by and large the people who get that our queer ancestors died because they wanted us to be able to fuck and be free. Like, you know what I mean? Like I think like once you get that, and that liberation that comes with just receiving your friends and receiving your people and loving them just as they are, and letting and being a safe space that they can like be their true selves, like that's really what I want. And everything is just to be that space for people to just have their gender experience.
I love that, Bevin. You are such a safe person for that. And I feel like you're such like an encouraging person around identity, because of like how you've so radically embraced your own identity.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
How has the pronoun change been going for you?
Yeah, it's been good. I mean, I've almost like secretly, I feel like, been using they them for like a few years now, but you know, really it's my girlfriend Victory. I think we had been dating 6 months, and I was like, oh yeah, by the way, I identify as they them. And she was like, what? How did you not tell me? It's been 6 months. And I was like, oh, but it's not a big deal. And like, I don't really care. And like, it's whatever. And yeah, I don't know. Like she just like was so like radically embracing of like, and like telling all of our friends, like, they use they them, they use they them, they use they them. And I was like, oh, I really like this. Like it felt really good. Like when she started telling people, like being my advocate, I was like, oh, okay. Like I actually really deeply prefer for people to call me they them. And yeah, it's just been such like a natural unfolding with my name, I feel like, and like stepping more into my two-spirit identity, and like stepping more into my indigeneity. It's like I do feel so much of like a man and a woman, you know, like I say, like I feel like a man on the inside and like a very femme woman on the outside. But like the people who know me the most are like, whoa, like you have like you do have like a very like deep masculinity to you, when you get into like the deeper levels of intimacy. so yeah, that's kind of how it's been unfolding for me.
Ah. Oh, that's so beautiful. It's making me cry a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm just so like happy for you and so proud and so like excited to hear that, because I know so many people who have like expressed that to me about like different genders like kind of embodying in the same field. Like I feel I've never felt like a man on the inside, but I've definitely always felt like a flamboyant masculinity flowing through me that like isn't, it's not obvious unless you really know me, you know, and like
Mhm,
it's,
mhm.
and it's been really, it comes through in the forest a lot, because this like sacred practice of me daily walking in the forest and being with myself and dancing and all of that, like really, that's where it really comes through, is like all of me comes through when I'm dancing. um and it's just, it's so beautiful to like trust people and to be willing to take up space. It's funny because like, you know, you're not an Aries. So like I feel like there's something in that Aries energy of just like, I'm gonna tell everyone exactly who I am and be this way. And then
Mhm,
there's a way in which I
mhm.
think some of us kind of take more of a backseat about like being like, honestly, it's like being honest about how we want to be named or claimed. And like
Mhm.
I haven't, I mean, I've been mononymous for like 3 years and change, and have still not written a letter or an email to anybody or like posted even a blog post about it, but I've just kind of like casually made it aware in different spots.
Mhm.
But like I'm not, I don't know, I feel like there's something about like you talking about taking up space with your name change where I'm like, I really am avoiding taking up space with that. But I can't deny the euphoria I feel whenever I see just my name on a piece of mail, or just like my one name. It's kind of like Prince. I like to think of Prince as my real dad. And like I don't actually need my biological dad's last name. Or my, you know, like someone who was deeply abusive to me in my childhood is who my middle name is named after. So like I'm like the release of those names that have baggage and also are just complicated. It's a long name, to just the little 5-letter of Bevin, kind of like Prince, also a 5-letter name, who has a full name, Prince Rogers Nelson. But like, I don't know, it just like, it felt so good for me to like just be like, let's just be simple. And it feels nice.
Yeah, I remember when you told me, like, I feel it's been it was probably a couple years ago where you were like, oh yeah, I'm like just gonna go by Bevin. I was like, hell yes, like that feels so right on so many levels, and it's so amazing to hear you explain it, because I don't think I heard that full explanation at the time.
I don't even think I
Um,
had that full explanation at the time, honestly. I just was like, I was forced into the not forced there was a deadline on the decision because I was making my workout video, which that
okay.
series is the hardest thing I've ever done, harder than passing the bar in 2 states, but it was like a huge dream of mine. And I was like, how am I going to be in the credits? Am I going to just do this one name thing? And I wish I had made the decision years ago when I was doing Queer Nightlife and all those flyers with my long ass fake last name. Because for those of you who don't know, I was a lawyer for a long time, and so I started having a performance last name that was like a Brand Landingham, really a riff on my government last name, but it created a nice separation from like my legal clients, opposing counsel, and stuff like that. And like, and I, you know, didn't, Queer Nightlife is not really a lawyer adjacent thing. So, but I wish I had just been Bevin on all of those flyers. But
That's
now,
so funny. I love that, like looking back in retrospect. But like you weren't just Bevin then. Like
yeah.
I knew you then. Like, no, you were not just Bevin. Like now you are just Bevin. Like you like have evolved into that, you know, like yeah, it's been amazing like watching you like step into your identity. It's so beautiful. And like the ease and grace of your identity now, you know, like there's just like a flow.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And like, I still remain very excited about this someday when I get to change my last name when I get married to somebody and start a family. But like, you know,
Love that.
and it will be, and I'll still be Bevin. The storefront is still Bevin, right? And like, and it'll just be like my government name, my family name.
I love that. That's so beautiful.
Well, thank you. Tell me more. I feel like I've always really admired your parenting and how you parent your son. And I know, I think he's about to graduate high school.
Yeah, next month. Yeah.
Tell me everything. How are you feeling? What's that going on? Is he going away or is he just going to stay with you?
Yeah, so no, so he's going to continue living with me. He's going to community college to study cinema and photography, and then he's thinking he might go to art school afterwards. But yeah, we he's so sweet. He's like, I want to live with you. I want like my grandkids to grow up with you. I want us to like always live together. Like it's really sweet. Whether or not that will happen, no attachment to that, but it is really sweet. Like I feel like we coexist just really well together. Like we're just like a deeply compatible pair in a lot of ways, and I just feel so lucky to have him as a son. Like he's such an old soul. He's much older than I am and extremely wise, and yeah, it's just such a blessing to be able to live this life with him. And let's see, he's wanting to go professional with Muay Thai, which is kickboxing. So he's been doing that every single day, going to this gym, and yeah, he's really hoping to go professional with it. And he just shot his first wedding last weekend, which is really exciting. And he's working at the JCPenney Portrait Studio as a photographer for his day job. So like his whole life is like really in alignment with photography and videography. And I think, yeah, he's just an incredible manifester. Like he was like, I want to have a day job that's in photography. And then he manifested this job like 2 weeks later. It's kind of unbelievable. Like he teaches me something, like I swear, like every week I'm like, another lesson from like Guru Jaden.
Oh, I love that. I feel like our children are our greatest teachers. That's one of the things I've learned in it's so funny. Like this time in my life, I've spent so much time studying like communication, parenting, and marriage because as a true feminist, I get to do what's on my heart. And I could never have told you that I desire most to be a wife and a mom. And like, yet it's just the truth. And so I'm like, well, I might as well be great at it because I read this in a book and it's really landed for me, is that success in parenting is having responsible adult children who want to have a relationship with you, and having experienced being I guess a responsible adult who didn't want to have relationships with my parents, either of them, for a long time. I'm like, I want to change this narrative. And I would, oh God, what a dream it would be to have like a multi-generational household with grandkids, like that you get to love on as well, and like be there. And I think kids need like at least three adults, like just for self-care for grown-ups.
Yeah, that's our big dream, is to have a multi-generational house. Like we talk about it all the time. Like, yeah, I think both of us like feel really strongly like we want to like, raise kids together one day. And yeah, I think it's so beautiful and magical just to have that intergenerational wisdom, to like share food and laughter and love and play like on a daily basis. And for like, I think especially for grandkids to be able to like have the support of grandparents, and like in terms of like caretaking and yeah, just like child rearing. Because I just think there's like an ease that comes with age when it's like, your second set of children that you're like parenting. You're like, oh yeah, I got this. Like there's like a chill that there isn't the first time around as much.
Oh yeah. And I mean, I have so much compassion for my own parents because my mom was 26 when she had me, and I can't imagine what kind of a wreck of a parent I would have been at 26 years old. So like, I'm like, it'll be a fun do-over. But I'm excited that like, I'm like 42. I've done a ton of healing. I mean, my healing work will be forever. But it's like, I think one of the most sacred things I do it for is for that next generation, so that I can be present for them and aware that they are my teacher. And also like just thinking about things like like, you know how the Muggles do gender reveals? When of course we know as adults that gender is revealed over time through
Yes,
the person.
absolutely. Yes.
And I feel like for me, I want to do genital reveals because that's what everyone's asking for. What are the genitals of your unborn child? And I feel like pronouns are just a jumping off point to start negotiations, and like they're gonna be whatever they're gonna be.
Yes. I love that, Bevin. I love that. Yeah, I felt very strongly that I wanted a gender neutral name. That was like so important to me. You know, I was just like, I want their name to be whatever it's going to be. Like they could have that name if they wanted to transition, or like however they wanted their gender to appear. And I mean, obviously people can change their names regardless, but yeah, parenting, there's so many choices. And like you, I read like a million books when I was pregnant at 19. Because I was just like, I have no idea what good parenting looks like. Like I just had no barometer for what good parenting looks like, you know. And I made so many mistakes, but like I'm so grateful that you know, while my son was still like in the 0 to 18 range, that I like got my shit together and got sober and like found my spiritual path, and like he got to see the evolution. It wasn't just like my mom is fucked up. It was like my mom has got some shit she needs to work out, and then like my mom got her shit together, and like us going through that together, I feel like was part of our soul journey, you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Are there any self-care wins that you've been really like in these last, like, I guess since in the pandemic, like what have you been really, what's your like MVP self-care? Is there anything new you've gotten into?
Mm, mm. Yeah, that's a good question. Um I think kind of like in honor of slowing down, I think my rituals have become like very simple and very like tactile and body based. Like I've just been like finding a lot of like really yummy lotions and like rubbing like my whole body down in lotions every night. Um, I've been doing like a lot of womb healing. So I've been doing like castor oil wraps almost every night and like really focusing on like womb healing and touching my womb a lot, giving a lot of like Reiki to my womb.
What's a castor oil wrap?
So it's like you can use like flannel, and then you soak it in castor oil, and then you wrap it around your womb, and the castor oil like penetrates your womb and actually physically like heals like fibroids or tension, or like relieves like any like muscle tension there. So if you've had sexual trauma, womb healing is through a castor oil wrap is really transformative. um and it's so funny because healers have been saying this to me for like 4 years, and I could not go there. Like it was so heavy for me with trauma. But in the pandemic, I was like finally ready. um and it's been incredible just because like doing that womb healing, it's really slowed me down. It's really like made me have to go a lot deeper um with my like internal reflection, if that makes sense.
It totally makes sense. And it's also
Yeah.
like in this eclipse has been about like not necessarily making any new changes, but just kind of examining like the changes that you've been sort of intending, and integrating
Mhm.
those. And like, it's interesting, you've had womb healing coming up in the eclipse, that like while you're like kind of actively finally doing this thing that was suggested for so long, and it's so
Yeah.
transformative. Um, and also the process of something that has brought me a lot of peace in the pandemic is like the knowledge that sometimes the growth that you're experiencing isn't like trunk and leaves and branches, it's roots and root systems, and like really rooting in, especially like
Mhm.
I think as we become more true to ourselves and really like releasing the parts of us that weren't ever us, they were like performative things we did for other people.
Ooh.
Right. So like the root system's not for anyone else. It's for us. It's for our stability, and it's for yeah, for us and our stability. And
Yeah.
so that we can then grow from that and
Mm.
recognizing like, you know, like my want and desire in my life is to be this big giant oak tree, but right now I'm just a little sapling rooting so that I can then
Yeah.
grow.
That's so beautiful, Bevin.
Thanks.
I love that. What about you? Like, have you had any self-care routines that have come up in quarantine?
For sure. I think something that was beautiful about the quarantine is like honestly, it's like I rooted into actual routine and like having the things that I do every single day and keep track of it and notice when I don't do those things, how it makes me feel. And like the
Yeah.
consistency of not traveling. Like for me, I definitely recognized this when I was living in New York and I would travel all the time. I saw that I was traveling to avoid feeling my feelings. I was like, oh, I'm definitely doing this and I'm still going to keep doing it. And so it's like now that I want to be, and I've worked on having this completely online digital life, where I can go wherever I want to and wander. I think my life as a Capricorn, I'm like going to always need and want like a strong home base, but I also need and want to tour and travel. And that's just, I think part of the balance of my life is like, I've always seen like going on the road for the summer, you know, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so like, I think something that's been really terrifying me coming out of the pandemic is like traveling again and being confident that I can both travel with my responsibilities for work, but also traveling with my responsibilities to myself for my own mental well-being and the habits that I have. And I mean,
Mm.
even just like my walking in the forest every day, like I'm gonna have to figure out how to do a walk every day, like hopefully in nature at someplace wild,
Mm.
but like finding that and prioritizing that in
Mm.
my nomadic my periodic nomadic lifestyles is like it's terrifying to me actually, but it's, you know, it's the kind of terror that comes with growing. So I just want
That's
to
so,
trust myself.
I love that. I love that you've like rooted into routine. Like I think that's like part of like being grown and like having done the work is falling in love with routine, you know? Like
Hmm.
that's a grown person thing.
It is like it's, I mean, self-care is kind of boring, but it's also like and also routine is kind of boring, but like I think as trauma survivors, like chaos is sometimes what we're attracted to because that's how we were raised. And like and the boringness of routine is actually something I think we don't
Mm.
necessarily crave, but we need. And that's like the
Yeah.
reparenting stuff is being willing to
Mm.
provide yourself the needs that you have.
Yes. Oh my gosh, Bevin, I feel that. I feel that. I also like I love my routine. Like it's yeah, it like really makes me feel like in my body, you know? And I think that's like so important for me at this stage in my life is like what makes me feel like alive in my body.
Yeah. Totally. Um, I'm curious if are you still identifying as Jaden's mother, or are you choosing a more gender neutral parent to kind of go with your two spirit identity?
No, definitely mother. Yeah,
Yeah.
I very much identify as a mom.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
actually I know a ton of trans folks who have like transitioned to male who still identify as a mother to their child.
Me too. I know a lot of trans folks who are male identified who still identify as a mother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. And I just want to name it just so folks out there can know that like your gender possibilities are infinite and like, you know, and you can change your parent identification too. That's totally fine too. But like it's
Yeah.
it's beautiful to just get to define who you are and just live and not get stuck somewhere. Um, okay, so transitioning into Psychic Mayuri. What are you hearing from the collective or from the guides about like the pandemic and our best practices now, and like
Mm.
travel, is it safe, is it like against the public interest, like how, like what's coming
Mm.
from all that stuff.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, yeah, I think one of the big I think one of the big messages that I'm seeing with clients during the pandemic is um something that I'm going through myself is body healing.
Mhm.
Um I feel like I feel like people are really tuning in to their body and their subtle bodies
Mhm.
and doing things to take care of themselves that they weren't doing before because they have the time to actually sit with themselves. Um, and so I'm seeing people talking about and realizing and waking up to trauma for the first time in their life that they had never realized before. I think just the practice of like having to sit with yourself in more silence than we've ever experienced before, I think is bringing that to the surface for a lot of people. Um, in terms of travel, I do feel like it's safe to travel intuitively. It feels like this is the time when the window is reopening. um I think that people like continuing to like wear their masks as they travel is important, even if you're vaccinated. But I think that the window is reopening for a reason. I think that I feel like I feel like spirit is like in alignment with this reopening. That's what it feels like for me. Is that how you're feeling also?
um I think yes. I'll say this, like I've really struggled with the ethics of travel for the last few months, but I think it's like, and it's also like, just living in a community. I think I'm
Yeah.
in a weird spot because I mean, in a actually very blessed spot, honestly, because I live amongst people who are all 60 and over, and
Yeah.
everyone got vaccinated right away. Like it's like there's like two people who didn't get vaccinated, and like everyone else got vaccinated right away. I felt a lot of peer pressure to get vaccinated as soon as it was available for me, and I
Yeah.
succumbed to that peer pressure, even though I felt complicated about, I don't trust the government, and I didn't necessarily want new science in my arm, but I also really trust my body. So like, and I trust my
Yeah.
body around COVID, honestly. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do this for the best interest of everyone. And I'm glad I did it. But then I immediately saw my neighbors just like maskless running. I mean, they're not running naked in the streets. I wish they were, but like it's the equivalent of that, like in terms of just 100 people now being in a quarantine pod together, essentially. And it feels, I mean, that to me just felt so risky. I was like, because people are coming in and out and traveling and all sorts of things. So I'm still masking in larger social gatherings, but like
Yeah.
just easing myself into one-on-one
Yeah.
stuff, and just honestly haven't I don't know, like my guidance didn't really tell me one thing or another about safety for travel. I feel like I just kind of had to untangle it
Yeah.
from an ethical point of view. I don't know, maybe I'm just a
Yeah.
Capricorn. But like I also developed a lot of peace once I decided, okay, I'm sitting still here until August, but I know that I have friends who are coming through. I just saw a friend from Philadelphia yesterday, socially distanced, we masked indoors, but we did have a vaccinated hug. And it feels like, to me, this time is harm reduction and priorities. Like
Mhm.
2021, I'm going to do the things that are my
Yeah.
highest priorities, and I'm not going to
Mhm.
put myself in like unnecessary danger. But like I'm also having a lot of fun like conjuring like my dream tour scenario, and like what that's going to look like this year, and how that can be. And like, you know it involves somehow a magical private plane trip to Paris every time I conjure it in my head. But um
Yes, that's amazing, Bevin. I love that. I love that for you. I'm here for that.
oh, thanks. I'm ready. um has anything, I love that you're actually sensing people are getting more connected to their bodies.
Yeah.
um I feel like it's the identities and it's bodies, because I think so many people have experienced a body change, in the pandemic.
Mhm.
And like, because when you have more time, it might go one way or the other, right? You're changing your life, like your body experience might change. And I love hearing that, because
Yeah.
I think so few people, so few people think about their gender, so few people think about their bodies. Like they just kind of
Yeah.
like live life by default, listening to what other people tell them they're supposed to do. And then when you don't have
Mhm.
toxic workplace lunchtime to police your food, you might have, a better and more intimate experience of your own body, and getting that
Yeah,
autonomy that is so sacred and so important in our freedom.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that's like come through that surprised you recently? Like things that I don't know. This is kind of more of an open-ended question, but
Like coming through psychically
psychically,
or
either
just
to
in
you.
general?
I think it's psychically to you, either through client work or just in general, your connection with guides. I love your connection so much. I feel like you have
Mm,
so much insight.
mm, hmm. Yeah. Hmm. That's a really good question. Hmm. 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 Yeah, I mean, there's stuff that's coming up for me, but I'm like, my like client privacy stuff is like, I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, I don't know that I could want to share this on a podcast. So like there is stuff, but it feels very like it feels a little bit too specific. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, I do. And I only want your general, like, this is the temperature,
Yeah.
not like this is what's
Yeah.
happening for this client.
No, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah. I'm trying to think. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think really like on a general sense, I think it like what I said earlier is like people I'm seeing so many clients talking about trauma that they've never thought about or talked about before. Like I'm just having clients that I've been seeing for years, who've never once talked about their childhood, who have never once talked to me about their parents, like people who are old and grown, who are like, I can't stop thinking about my childhood and I can't stop thinking about this thing that happened. And like maybe this thing did happen. And like I've never even thought about this before. And I'm 50, like things like that. I'm hearing so many people talk about stuff like that right now. And yeah, it's like I really feel like Mother Earth is supporting and holding people's experiences and trauma to an even greater degree right now. Like I feel like she's just like very ripe and ready to like hold heavy experiences and to really like take it into her roots and transmute it and like bring it back as support in life. And I think people are like feeling that energy and are like leaning into it because of just how devastating this past year and a half has been and just how things have gotten real so fast. I think it's really forced people to like break up that experience of running away from their feelings, break up that experience of like leaning into toxic behaviors. Like I just think people are finding themselves like looking within. I also think people are really facing their addictions right now in a way that I haven't seen before. Like I'm having a lot of clients talk about their drinking problem, their drug problem, their sex addiction problem, their gambling problems, and when they've never talked about that before. And I think like patterns are being revealed because people are having to be have a smaller world than they had before. And so because of that, like you're forced to look within.
I love that. I love that for everyone, actually, because the more you look at yourself and release the need to do the addiction, or at least are just aware that what you're doing is addictive and taking you out of reality. Like that, the awareness is so potent. And I also love the release to Mother Gaia and just like how much she can transmute for us. I literally lay in the forest frequently. I carry a tarp with me so I can lay down on, soggy Pacific Northwest, and just lay down and just say release and just let it go and like let whatever needs to go. And like, I think
Wow.
I mean, that's like an earthing practice, and earthing is just connecting to the earth and letting it heal. And you can do it simply by just like being barefoot on the grass or like wherever you have access to earth. And I just want to like hype this idea up for people. I'm feeling called to share. I got advised by a tarot reader early in the pandemic that I needed a houseplant. And like the more work I've been doing, like with earth magic and fairies and stuff like that, I've recognized the power of having some dirt in your house so that your earthing can be in your home as well. Because I think so frequently we have these very sterile interiors that don't have that access. And even just one plant, you don't need to be a pandemic houseplant person. But props to all of those who have become pandemic houseplant people. But like even just one. And I had a friend who I was treating with energy healing during her COVID experience. It was nasty. It was a couple weeks long. And I had her put a plant right next to her head where she slept, with like a couple of stones, like maybe a rose quartz or something like that, which I think gives more access to that healing while we're in our most vulnerable release, which is sleep. Yeah.
That's so beautiful, Bevin. I love that. I love that. Yeah, plants are, I've always had like many house plants. Most of all of people have given me over the years. And yeah, I've felt so much more supported by them during the pandemic. Around plants, because I think people are doing so much transformative inner work, and like house plants can do so much magic for us. Like they can support us so much. And I love that you recommended putting the plant by your client's head who had COVID. That's such powerful magic. Like I haven't even like thought about that. That's really beautiful.
I had never thought about it either. But I was like putting those pieces together about having the house plant in the house and like what that energy portal can be. And so when she was sick, I was like, no, this is what it was all very clear to me what needed to happen. So that's my favorite part about being an energy healer is sometimes it's just very easy, like it's very powerful and very easy, which is very anti-capitalist, to allow something to be easy.
Ooh, wow. You just went there. I've never thought about that.
Yeah.
I've never thought about like how spiritual work is anti-capitalist, because it is so easy and it is all about allowance.
Yeah. And I think if you're up on your energy work, it doesn't mean you're never going to get sick, but I think it means you do spend a lot less dollars in like disease care, when you're spending. I mean, I think it's just exponential. Like we were talking about this before we started, and we're going to talk about it now. Supplements, and how good they are, and like how filling in your nutritional gaps, because it's, even if you ate the most organic, local, plant-based diet, you're not getting all the nutrition you need. And supplements, and really good high quality supplements. Pay attention to where you're getting it from and where the seeds are coming from and all of that stuff. It's not Target vitamins. This is like really paying attention to where you're getting your supplements from. And I just feel like that I spend so much percent of my income on my health, and including my mental health, but like, and my supplements have really helped my mental health. So I'm curious for you, like, what are you taking and what are you excited about?
Oh my gosh, I spend so much money like on supplements. Oh my gosh. Well, okay, these I just like happens to be next to my supplements, but I don't know how to say it, but it's Gui Pi Tang, this particular Chinese herbal medicine blend that my acupuncturist recommended. Total game changer, like blood builder. like grounded into my energy, like so much faster than I was able to before, like, because I can be very like in the astral as a psychic. And taking these twice a day has totally changed my life. Yeah, so for supplements, I use the Mega Food brand, which I love, because it comes from vegetables and fruits. But yeah, I take like a vitamin D3 from them. I take an iron supplement from them. And then I take turmeric and coumarin, because I can have fibromyalgia symptoms, and I have a lot of chronic pain from childhood sexual abuse. So that's been really transformative for me. I think that's about all I'm taking right now. And then I take tincture blends. So I have an herbalist in the Bay that I've been working with for a long time, who has a Sephardic Jewish background and works with their ancestral grandmother to create herbal blends. And I've been working with them for a few years, and that's been really transformative for me. And then I use CBD and Rose on like a daily basis also. Yeah.
How do you use CBD and Rose? What's your method?
So I like create my own smoke blends. And so yeah, every night I'll like smoke CBD and Rose, and it's just been such a beautiful ritual for me. It doesn't have any THC in it because I, as somebody who has a mental illness that interacts very poorly with THC, I can't have THC. I know for some people, such as yourself, it's very, very healing. And I recognize that, unfortunately, not for me. But yeah, after being sober a couple years, my guides were like, okay, like you need some plant medicine, and really guided me towards CBD. And I get it from like a supplier that's all organic, and that I feel really good about. And then yeah, I just mix it with like organic rose petals, and sometimes I'll put in different herbs like mugwort if I'm wanting to do some like dream journeying, or like red raspberry if I'm having like PMS symptoms. And I just kind of intuitively blend. And then I have some herbalist friends who I'll like check in with, like, do you have any recommendation for this thing? And whatever they say, I trust your local herbalist.
Yes. And speaking of your local herbalist, tell me more about your yoni steams. I saw that in your email newsletter that you're offering.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Yeah, I'm working with my friend Akasha, who's an herbalist, and she works like Haitian herbalist magic. And so we're collaborating together on the yoni steam. So she's going to do like custom yoni steam herbal blends. So when someone wants to do a yoni steam, like they'll write us and be like, okay, this is what I want to work on, whether it's like fertility or reproductive health or PMS symptoms or PMDD symptoms or trauma, or there's so many benefits to yoni steams. And so she's going to do the herbal custom mix blends. And then I have like a yoni steam chair and robe, and like have a whole setup. And so I'm going to be mobile, like going to people's houses and doing yoni steams, and then doing drumming and Reiki during the yoni steam to really like call in the ancestors, and just to like help everything flow energetically. And if people don't want to have that, we can do like the drumming and Reiki afterwards. So it's flexible depending on if people want to be alone during the steam. But yeah, I'm really excited to bring this like ancient indigenous technology to people and to really like share the magic of yoni steams because it's totally changed my life. I do like a monthly full moon yoni steam where yeah, I work on whatever is coming up with me around like sexual health, like childhood sexual abuse trauma healing or womb healing, um, and just sit with the herbs because like the herbs can do so much for us. And there's like different ways to mix the herbs to like address very specific things that are coming up. And yoni steams aren't just for assigned female at birth people. Yeah, we're calling them like sacral steams because there's also like lingam steams that can be for like assigned male at birth people, or every type of gender can benefit from sacral steams. Yeah.
Now I want to do one. Wait, I
Yeah.
can't wait to come visit you in San Diego.
Yay.
Yay. I love you so much, Mayuri. I am just delighted and grateful to the goddess for bringing us together and for just getting to continue to get to witness you. And also just very, very grateful that you trust me to tell your story and share your story with folks, because I think you're just such an incredible healer and your story is so healing, and thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Bevin. I feel so grateful for our friendship and yeah, just our beautiful like psychic connection with each other. And yeah, you said you've had like such a huge impact on my life.
Thank you. Same. Even just, I can remember there was this moment where I was like dating somebody and you gave me all this great advice about like how to be sexy and like in me, and like I remember that, so it's so empowering. I always feel so empowered with you, and love you so much. It's funny because like now we talk about supplements.
I know, right?
Like,
yeah, it's so true. Like, oh my god, being an older queer person in the world is like a very special experience.
and I mean, truly what I hope people hear from this is like how to heal, and that it gets to be a journey, and also you get to enjoy your life on the way, like even when like there are things that aren't yet healed. I think healing is a lifetime thing, but like just continuing to find that joy and find the appreciation and the will to live. I mean, I hate to say it like that, but the will to live is a full-time job, and like it's my focus.
Wow, that's powerful. The will to live. That's a powerful statement, Bevin.
Oh, thanks. I mean, I really did recognize it. Like when my grandfather passed away, and it was very my paternal grandfather with that name, and he, like, it's funny because we hadn't talked in years, and like he just called me out of the blue because it was during Hurricane Sandy, and I was in Brooklyn, and he was nervous for me, and we had a great conversation, and he died like 2 days later. And it wasn't like it was something people knew was coming. He just had got literally that day got diagnosed with like leukemia or some kind of cancer, and literally went home and died on the recliner. It was like, and I just that the will to live as a full-time job is what came through immediately as soon as I found out that he had passed. I was like, oh, it's like he was like, not, he's like, nah. I'm not gonna try to fight cancer. Nah.
That is amazing. Wow, it's a beautiful story. I mean, we're such powerful beings, like being able to be like, I'm good, like I've lived a good life, like I'm gonna go on this recliner and like not in a hospital. Like that's some powerful magic. Like it's just like a testament to how powerful we are as beings.
Yeah, it really is. It really is such a testament. I love you so much. Thank you so much for being here.
I love you so much. Hearts.
Yay.